really fortunate. Alanis never made decisions based about money. When we talk about a business, she'd ask me all the details first. We talk it through, and then if she said no, I go, but it's $1 million.
Oh my gosh.
You might want to rethink that. There are times when she said, I'm not doing it.
Just what feels right.
She was a gut girl, big gut girl. I didn't always agree with her. But
you have to get really close with these artists. You're managing their whole lives, their careers.
Their families.
Their families. It's business, but I know you get very personal with people.
Right.
When we met 2 years ago, I thought it was a business thing of, all right, I'm going to talk to you about gigs and here's my idea. And you're like, we're not talking about gigs. Tell me about your mom and dad. Do you like playing tennis? And the whole time was very relational. So you are very, very mindful of that. So I can imagine.
Because you have to build trust. If an artist thinks you're advising them based on what's only best for you, they don't trust you.
Welcome to the Gigs Podcast. I'm your host, Nikki Sands, founder and CEO of Gigs, the professional career platform for the live event industry. On this podcast, we are interviewing the very best in the touring and live event industry to hear the good, the bad, the ugly, and the unreal moments of life gigging and lessons learned on the road. I get to welcome artist manager, tour manager, investor, consultant, advisor, dear friend, and a pain in my ass, Scott Welch.
Right back at you.
Scott's a real trailblazer in the music, entertainment, and tech industries. He spent decades managing multi-platinum artists like Alanis Morissette, LeAnn Rimes, Steve Perry, Paula Abdul, and Collective Soul. In the tech world, he's helped launch MP3.com's $370 million IPO and invested in StubHub, little company, which later sold to eBay for $310 million. Today, Scott is behind the development of various companies, including Soundstripe, Single Music, XPERIA, Eva, AtoZ Sports, the LERNER Theatre, and his very favorite, Gigs. Scott, welcome to the Gigs Podcast.
Well, thanks for having me. It's about time. Geez, I must have been way down the list here.
It's because you didn't earn it yet. You've earned it. You've earned it. I've now known you.
I see how it works.
I've known you now for 2 years, which is pretty incredible, and we're going to get into it, but
no parole, right?
We're going to start with one of my favorite stories that you've told me.
Okay.
Start with your story about a grand piano that turned into a Grammy.
Okay, I'll try to make it short. I was fortunate enough to work with this amazing artist named Alanis Morissette, and she was signed to a company called Maverick, which is Madonna's label at Warner Brothers. And the first record, Jagged Little Pill, was the biggest record in that year of Warner Brothers history.
Wow.
And so she won 7 Grammys off that record. And the label said, we want to give her a gift. I said, you should buy her a goddamn Mercedes for how much money she made you. But I go, I want the very best Steinway piano that you can get. And I want you to deliver it to her house, have it tuned. When she comes home, it's just going to be sitting there. And so that's what we did. And so about 3 weeks later, they asked us to come look at a movie called City of Angels. And so she and Johnny Resnick from the Goo Goo Dolls went. Goo Goo Dolls wrote a song. And she called me the next morning. She goes, can you come to the house? It was about 6:30. She goes, the song happened in the middle of the night. I don't really remember. And she wrote it on that piano, and it won a Grammy.
What was the song?
Uninvited.
That song is so good.
Yeah.
She is so good. And it won a Grammy. I've seen this Grammy. It's in your house on your shelf.
Yes.
What a way for an artist manager to help with the creative process of the artist.
Yeah. I mean, I think people don't realize how big a team it takes. You have record company people all over the world. You have tour managers, you have production managers, you have a band, you have people at the label who believe in you. It's a lot more than people think about it for an artist to be successful.
Yeah, can we talk about that?
Sure.
I want to kind of go into how, there's way more of you before Alanis, but I would love to hear the Alanis story of, how you got involved, and then to get into how many people it really does take to make an artist win. How many Grammys did she win that year?
7.
Yeah. So how did you first get involved with her?
At the time, I had been working with Paula Abdul, and a friend of mine ran a publishing company in Canada. Before all the mergers, it was called MCA. And she was a Canadian artist, and he, as the manager of the publishing company, he made all the Canadian records. And she won Junos, and he goes, I want to get those records released in America. And I listened to him, and I go, they're okay, but we have Paula Abdul, we have Janet Jackson. We don't need another Canadian pop star. We just don't. And so let's just let her write. And so we started to let her write. And she'd come to LA and stay at our house and write with a bunch of people. And it just blossomed into this amazing piece of art that still holds up today.
Always. Yeah. So was there a moment of her writing that you realized, oh, she's got it?
I think it was a process. You could just start to see glimpses. You'd hear a line in a lyric line, and then more of the people we'd send her, they go, oh my God, can I write with her again? And that's usually a good sign.
Oh, they like her.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting because so many artists, I'm sure, especially as they're just starting out, they got a good song. And then their next one, like they have to realize that they got to write hundreds before they really become what they're supposed to become.
Her style of writing was really from the moment. And even in the studio, she just cut the vocal and not fix it. It was like, this is it pretty much. Unless it was a bad line, she goes, I'm in a mental state to sing it because the songs are so personal.
Yeah.
The lyrics are so deep.
Yeah. So then take me through. So then you're like, all right, we sign her and what's next? So how do you work with the label and the touring world?
Well, so nobody would sign her. Everybody passed.
Oh.
Because they were like, we've got other females, we've got stuff. And I think because Madonna's manager was really smart and together, he saw it.
Really?
He was the guy who saw it. He was running her label at the time.
Got it. Yeah. So what happens after an artist gets signed?
Well, then you got to make the record, and then you got to get everybody excited. And, you need some breaks along the way. The head of international saw her early, and he goes, I think she's amazing. I'm going to take her to Europe with a couple of guitar players, and we're just going to go play Italy, France, Warner Brothers, England, Warner Brothers, Germany, Warner Brothers, and set the record up. So when it came out, it already had some traction.
Interesting. Wow. And that was Jagged Little Pill? Mm-hmm. That was her first... Oh.
Yeah. I think we're at 36 million copies worldwide.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And then after that, that's when you did the grand piano. That's when she wrote for this movie, won a Grammy from that. Mm-hmm. Were you involved in her touring at all?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me about that.
Well, originally when the record blew up so fast, the agent like, have got you all these slots opening on big tours. And I go, no, we're going to go play clubs, because she was not ready. She never been on a big stage. And I go, why? We don't need that pressure. Let's go play. We play 500-seat clubs. We played a 500-seat club in San Diego. We had 2,000 people outside trying to get in.
Wow.
And it was but it created that thing she needed to learn how to be a
star.
Yeah.
So I bet that's good for the ego too, is to get them into these small clubs first, to build that buzz so that people so that it sells out too, I'm sure.
Well, you got to remember, she was 19 years old.
Wow.
And the band was young, and it was an opportunity for them to play in, places where it was sweaty, and the fans were like right here in your face. And
and that's her music too, isn't it?
It had that vibe.
Yeah. Is that where you usually gravitate towards, like artists like that have that? Well, no, I wouldn't. Paula Abdul wouldn't be like that, right? So before Alanis, you're with Paula. How do you get involved with that? Actually, no. We're going back to the beginning. What was that first tour that you were on?
I was production manager for $300 a week for a band called Y&T, which is a West Coast rock band.
Okay, and this is when you're in LA?
Uh-huh.
Amazing. So production managing, what size rooms were you doing?
We were doing pretty big venues. We're doing like some 5,000 seaters, 7,500. Mm-hmm. They had no idea what the hell I was doing, but they couldn't afford anybody.
There it is.
So I got the job based on the fact that I would work for $300 a week.
That was the very first one, right?
Yeah.
How old were you?
26, maybe, something like that. Okay. Yeah.
I
had a union card before that, and I was working. I had a booking agency and was just hustling, booking gigs, and
nice.
learn how to unload a truck, and learn how to pack a truck, learn how to, on how arena works and how a union call works and all those things.
Did you enjoy production managing? Or did
Yeah.
you look at a TM and say, I want to tour manage?
I felt like the production job would be limiting for me what I wanted to do next.
Mm-hmm. So then what was next?
Tour managing.
Okay. And why do you think for you production management was limiting?
Because I wanted to be more around the creative process.
And tour managers can do that?
Yeah, then there's more money. I mean, let's face it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So then you're tour managing. What was that first artist that you were TMing?
Faster Pussycat.
Oh yeah. Right. Right. Amazing.
Yeah.
So you were in the rock world.
Yes.
And then take me through.
And there's like Faster Pussycat, Quiet Riot, Dokken, that kind of stuff. And then I realized that I don't want to be on the road forever. Mm-hmm. And I liked the business side.
Why?
It just was more interesting. And I liked being in the center. I liked being the hub and, bossing everybody else around.
Because with artist management, so if you're TM, you're definitely bossing people around, but that's just the tour. Artist managers, you're bossing the tour people around and the label.
You're dealing with the record label, you're dealing with the business manager, you're doing radio promotion, you're dealing with the merchandise company, you're dealing with the music publisher, you're dealing with all you're the hub of all the spokes.
Yeah. You are the spokesperson for the artist too, right? Okay, so it's also kind of babysitting, right?
It
for the
can
artist.
be in some ways.
How did you like that part of it?
It depends if you were babysitting destructive behavior or you were just babysitting because they didn't know.
Ooh. Tell me more.
Well, if you're babysitting someone who's doing stupid shit like having drugs shipped out them on the road through FedEx, or they're breaking a big plate glass window at a Holiday Inn in Texas. I mean, or you're having to separate them in the dressing room from fist fighting and
really,
yeah.
Oh my God. What was a moment maybe in this world where you're like, what am I doing? Like, what is this world? What am I doing?
There are a lot of moments. Yeah. I had a mentor who told me you can lead them to water, but you can't stop them from jumping in and drowning. And that sometimes you go, I got everything set up. You wanted this, and now you're telling me you don't want to do it.
And how do you deal with that?
You work for them. Mm-hmm. You do try to explain to them why they should do this and what the implications are. But at the end of the day, it's their call.
Yeah. How do you probably do this to me all the time? You do this to me all the time. But how do you guide an artist or an entrepreneur to make them think it's their idea? You really do this to me all the time. Oh my God.
Well, if for example, if the artist goes, come to the studio, I want you to hear a new song.
Yeah.
I would come in and go play it 3 or 4 times. I would tell them first all the things I loved.
Uh-huh.
And then I'd go, you know what? I think that chorus needs some work. I think you can do better. Go back and take another shot at it.
Mm-hmm. Like the vocals or the writing or anything with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. So give them
I'm
help
not
their
going to
egos.
give you all my tricks here.
I want to know the tricks. So you help their ego up a little bit, and then you constructive criticism.
Yeah, I mean, you give them credit for the work they did and
Right.
what they've accomplished.
What do you do when you are, you don't have to say who, or your book will come out once
I'm dead.
You're dead.
Yeah.
But you don't have to say who. But were there any moments where you're like, well, they're not listening to me. I'm trying everything I can, and this is just, it's done.
Yeah.
You had
There
to
are a
walk
couple
away?
artists, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's just too hard.
Yeah.
If you can't get the cooperation, it's too hard.
And you just leave.
Yeah, or just tell them, and I've been fired because I said, I think you're doing this wrong. And they're like, well, we're going to go with someone else. I go, all right, goodbye.
We're going to go in a different direction.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone
Yeah.
who likes to say yes.
Yeah, who will just do what we tell them to do.
Right, right.
Because a lot of times there's a lot of people around an artist who are making money and they keep their mouth shut because they're getting a paycheck.
Yeah. Even if they see people, they're going down the wrong path.
Look at Elvis as a good example. That's an old example, but
right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you do the road. You're at Dokken and Quiet Riot, and at what age are you at this point?
28, maybe, something like
Okay.
that.
All right. I know at one point you work in some radio station and you meet a pretty little lady at a radio station.
Yeah, I was on the road with Faster Pussycat, and I met this beautiful woman who happened to be at the race. And I tried to mac on her a little bit. She shut me down pretty hard. She played really hard to get, but
Tell
it
the
took me
story.
2 years.
Okay, so take me there. Take me to that recording studio. The radio station.
I just took the band in for an interview, and she was there, and I was trying to talk to her a little bit, and I invited her to the show, and it was packed. You could barely breathe, and I know now she's a little claustrophobic. And so I said, why don't you just come up here and stand at the soundboard? He won't get...
Oh.
Right.
Hey, I'll take you to front of house.
Yeah. And after the show, it was raining, and I went out and got her car so she wouldn't get wet.
No. Well
Tried
done.
to get her to come to New York. She went, no, that ain't going to work. You're going to have to work
Become
it
a groupie.
Yeah. She wasn't going to have that.
Okay. And then what happened?
I went back to LA, and she was in Baltimore, and we just kind of dated back and forth for 2 years.
2 years. And then
Got married.
And then you got married, and she's sitting right here. Hello.
Yeah.
And she's the best. I love that. And I think, and she's working in radio and in music and kind of knowing that world.
She knew all the bands. She knew all about all of it.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
Sometimes you think, I feel like that's somewhat necessary in a relationship. Someone that kind of gets the world a little
Especially
bit.
in this business, because it's just wacky. It doesn't make any sense.
If you're really gone for a whole year, to understand why and knowing what that's paying towards, or you know, interesting. That's wonderful. And so with Des, you started a family, and I would love to kind of get into that side of things too, to hear, like, were you still touring at that time?
I was on the road with Alanis, although we played every country in the world except maybe 2.
Oh my God. Tell me about that. Okay, go. Take the mic.
When the record exploded, usually what happens, a record happens in America, then you go play Europe. It exploded everywhere in the world. And so we would come home for 3 days from Europe, and then we'd go to South America for 2 weeks. We'd come home for 2 weeks, and then we'd go to, up to Canada and do a Canadian tour. And, I said to her, just work hard right now, put all the money away, and then you have your own life after that,
Yeah. What is she's touring right now still,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to see her so badly.
Yeah.
That was like my mom's car CD was Alanis Morissette.
Yeah.
So I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways.
Lyrics might be inappropriate for
big
some.
time. I remember whenever it goes, I'm
Went down on you in a theater.
That one, I never knew what it meant. I was like, I was singing the words, and my mom was like, she doesn't know what it means. It's okay.
Yeah.
But then when she said hand in my pocket, I'm broke, but I'm chicken shit or something.
Yeah.
I was like, she'd always go,
I think the song that it's most poignant on that record is a song called Perfect, that she wrote about herself and her family, her dad. And it's pretty heartfelt,
Yeah. You have to get really close with these artists. You are managing their whole lives, their careers, and
Their families.
Their families. It's business, but I know you get very personal with people.
Right.
For example, when we met 2 years ago, I thought it was a business thing of, all right, I'm going to talk to you about gigs, and here's my idea. And you're like, we're not talking about gigs. Tell me about your mom and dad. Do you like playing tennis? And the whole time we just were, it was very relational. So you are very, very mindful of that. So I can imagine.
Because you have to build trust.
Yep. Tell me why. Yeah.
Because if an artist thinks you're doing it, you're advising them based on what's only best for you, they don't trust you. I left a lot of money on the table because it just wasn't right for the artist to do it.
Like what?
A commercial would come up, or there'd be a gig. It doesn't make sense for you to do that, and here are the reasons why.
Whoa.
I mean, really fortunate. Alanis never made decisions based about money. When we talk about a business, she'd ask me all the details first. We talk it through, and then if she said no, I go, but it's $1 million.
Oh my gosh.
You might want to rethink that. There are times when she said, I'm not doing it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just what feels right.
She was a gut girl. Big gut girl. Not always. I didn't always agree with her. But
What about your gut? When did you start trusting your gut?
I'm still learning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I do it now by, like with you, we hung out before we ever started working together, right?
Right.
And I got to know you, and that's how I trusted my gut.
When you're around someone. So
Yeah.
that kind of goes in. We're going to go back into music too, but you started with investing into StubHub and getting involved with that team and MP3.com.
Yeah.
Talk about diving into tech and what stage of your life you were in with that.
Well, we were right in that stage where the music business was going through, Napster had been launched and everybody was trying to figure out, nobody wanted to pay for music.
Yeah.
And we were all trying to figure it out. And MP3.com, I got to know them and they said, we want to do a marketing deal with Alanis. Like, we want to have our name on the tour. I go, great. And I got to know them and and we just clicked. And so I got a piece of the company when it went public.
Dang. That's awesome. So did you enjoy the tech side?
Yeah.
And being in those conversations?
Yeah.
Then how did that lead you to StubHub?
These, I've always taken meetings with pretty much anybody who can get in the door.
Yeah.
And my assistant said, these two guys from Stanford have been bugging the crap out of me. Would you take a meeting with them? I go, what do they want? I go, they have a tech idea. So they'd already got it started and they just came in and explained what it was. And I go, this sounds interesting. You're going to get a lot of shit because it feels like it's scalping because nobody knew what secondary ticketing was.
Yeah.
And so we just built it from there.
And it kind of was legalizing scalping, right? Like it kind of was, and what it's become 20 years later, 25 years later.
It's still a fucking mess. Artists are getting the shaft on all these deals. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's definitely kind of like a curse word in a way, like StubHub, all that, like it's, the third. Yeah.
I mean, my way, if you buy a ticket for my show and you don't want to go, you have to turn the ticket back in and we'll give you your money back. We put it back in the system.
Yeah.
You can't upsell it because I don't get that money.
Yeah. I mean, especially like the Taylor Swift tickets and everything. It's insane.
How much money she would have made?
Oh my gosh.
She made 3 times that amount of money if you just let the market set the price.
Yeah. Oh, that's frustrating. So anyways, you get involved in a horrible company. Just kidding. It's not. Yeah. It's not. But you then they sell to eBay, and
we had moved here by then from LA.
What brought you here?
I think we were both want a different place to raise our kids.
How old were they at this time?
10 and 6. 10 and 6, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wanted to slow. And were you were working with LeAnn at that time?
I just signed LeAnn.
Got it. When she was Nashville based.
Yeah.
Okay. So started working with her, uprooted your life, moved to Nashville.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's a very different town back then than it is now.
Yeah.
Then what got you into more tech?
I was managing a band, a Christian rock band, and the guitar player said, "Hey, I'm leaving. I've been working on this tech company. I'm leaving." So I went, "Great, go for it." About 6 months later, I ran into him at a coffee shop, and I go, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Why don't you come see what we're doing?" So it was Soundstripe. And it was just me, Travis, and Micah sitting around a table talking about, they'd already got the company launched and they needed to get some money. So I raised the first capital for them and kind of got them organized. And
was that your first time raising capital?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I really liked, I think entrepreneurs work harder than artists do, most of them.
Everybody hear that? Everyone hear that?
Yeah, they do. And as opposed to if you're a guitar player, you know how to play guitar. Most people have no fucking idea how to be a CEO.
That's the truth.
Right? And they're young and there's pressure and they've got investor money and they have people that need a paycheck.
Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure.
And learning how to, learning what you're good at, what you can delegate.
Yeah. And there's no like, oh man, we got to play that show and everyone applauded me. Like there's none of that.
No, you go home and cry most of the time.
Most nights are a lot of tears. Yeah. So you were gay with Travis and Mike are incredible entrepreneurs, and later in Trevor and the founding team there help raise their first round. But they were scrappy. This was a idea for Sync Music. That's now an extremely successful business.
Right. I'm a big believer in scrappy.
Yeah, you are. Helped me kind of stay scrappy, which has been painful but rewarding.
Right.
So you're with them, and this is early stage. This is, you just are helping with one. Are you still managing the other band at this time? Okay.
Yeah.
Was this independently? Like, were you an independent artist manager at this time too?
Yeah.
Okay. So all this is just kind of like you're taking a chance at these people because you see something. What is it that you see?
Number one is this like, is there a plan B? Is this going to be you, or are you going to go? And if you're going to get your ass kicked, are you going to get up and show up the next morning? Mm-hmm. And I look for stuff that's disruptive.
Yep. Yeah. And you're all over the board. I mean, you're in a lot of music. So you're in with Soundstripe, Sync Music, and Book with Eva, which is corporate events.
Yeah, and they're kind of they don't need me much anymore. Those two women are rock stars. They've graduated on.
Yes, they really are. Single is doing incredible.
Doing really good.
Tommy is the star. And you're still involved with Single.
Yeah.
Then
AtoZ's doing really well.
AtoZ is killing it. And XPERIA. Talk about XPERIA.
I don't have much to do with it anymore, but it's a company that does immersive experiences. We have an attraction in Pigeon Forge. It was in New York when COVID hit. We moved.
That's a crazy thing.
Yeah.
Like, weren't you in Times Square?
Yeah.
And then COVID happened.
Yeah, and we're out.
Yeah.
Well, because they closed. We're kind of in Times Square where the theater district started. They shut all the theaters down. New York is very expensive. Mm-hmm. The labor laws are challenging. The city laws are challenging. Rent is expensive.
So this is an immersive, like, aquarium experience. Yeah. So I moved down to Gatlinburg, which I'm hopefully going to soon.
Yeah. I know someone who might get you tickets.
Hey, thank you. That's the whole reason we do gigs, is just for the free tickets. That's really it. But and then your most favorite company and the best entrepreneur you ever worked with. So let's talk about gigs. Just kidding. But back then, 2 years ago when we met, I was really impressed by all of your experience. And I mean, like, huge Alanis Morissette. I was just like, oh my gosh, so cool. And the questions you were asking and the way that, at that point it was still an idea. It was still an idea. I wasn't raising money yet, but I think I needed to. And you were just asking the coolest questions. And the best part, truly, like, it still gets me. And I take into, like, any work relationship is, like, to get to know people first and just to not talk about work. So thank you for that, for teaching me that. But you were with me when we had the first development company in Poland that didn't work out. So what did you see as, like, helping and watching this little entrepreneur that doesn't know anything that's going on? And what made you want to work together, I guess?
Well, first of all, I had experience with the pain point. I'd been a production manager, tour manager, always worrying about my next gig. I knew that nobody had taken the technology and put it to use. Mm-hmm. And, I felt like you weren't afraid of the challenge. Mm-hmm. The mountain wasn't too high to try to climb it.
Hell no.
Yeah.
Hell no. But then we did get screwed with the technology.
No, but you know what? We made him give it back to us. And,
got it back.
And we told him we weren't going to pay him any more money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, going through all those meetings and just having you was really nice, because it does feel, I think, any advice to entrepreneurs is, like, have someone that you trust, that you really enjoy working with. I think we have a super similar work style. Yeah. And that you trust, that can, basically you can ask permission sometimes of, like, am I crazy for thinking this? Or can I do this? It's
right.
Like, yeah, okay, thank you. Or whatever it is, or that encouragement, like, the amount of time, Scott, that you have, and I'm probably, like, through building this has been so hard. And
it is hard. It's not right for everybody.
The mountain was real big.
Yeah,
and,
it
like,
is.
the amount of times.
And just when you think you're starting to make forward, you get pushed back down the mountain.
You get thrown,
Yeah.
and then someone steps on your face.
Yeah, and somebody tells you your ideas are stupid.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to work.
Yeah.
You'll never do it. Mm-hmm. Like, that's all that shit that comes with it.
And then it's the fear of, I think what I've struggled is, like, the fear of, like, oh my God, how are we going to make money? How are we going to run out of money? Like,
oh yeah.
And that fear, and especially the people just not believing in it.
Yeah. I mean, the fear can either drive you or consume you. You have to make a choice. I'm going to take the fear and use that as motivation, or I'm just going to crawl in my bed and pull the cover. And some days you need to pull the covers over your head. It's okay.
Yes.
If you don't do that, then you just carry all that with you all the time.
And I want to thank you for that's, like at some of the lowest moments, knowing always like you, and that's where I'm like on the phone, like, this dude managed Alanis Morissette. Like, of course he knows what to say in this moment. Like you always knew and know what to say. And same with Des. I remember like last year, it was just a real tough time. And it was that moment of like, oh my God, is this going to be my life? Like, I don't want to do this. I hate this. And you were saying incredible things. And Des goes, honey, this is a growing pain. It's painful, but if you get through this, like, you will not feel this pain again. It'll be a new pain, but you're going to get through it.
That's why she's my partner.
Yeah, truly.
Yeah.
So I take a moment to like,
thank you.
It's amazing how much you've helped me grow as a human.
I think the challenge from my seat is, the way our relationship now is much different than when we first started. Mm-hmm. And I have to continue to like, let you go further and further till you get out of the nest.
Oh,
that's the hard part. I mean, like the Soundstripe guys I talk to, once a week, but they got it now.
Yeah,
they figured it out.
Totally. But have you always had the like futuristic, future thinking? But like you are so comfortable with the long term, the long game. Right. That's, I think, where is the most uncomfortable for entrepreneurs. Like when I first started, I'm like, oh yeah, it's going to be great. And we're going to make it real fast. And then we're going to sell or whatever. I'm like, oh, I'm in this for like a really long time now. Yeah. And I still don't think it's actually really fully set in. But you take a risk on small artists or small bands. Talk about that mentality that you have to be in. It's
not always great. I mean, but it's really rewarding when you finish the marathon.
What is finishing marathon for you?
When you sell the company or you get to a certain level, and it's look at all the milestones we've hit this year.
Yeah. Oh, not just me, but yeah, absolutely. But I mean, even thinking like with us, if you're managing a small band, what are milestones that you're like, all right, this is worth it. Next, this is worth it. Like, what are the milestones with an artist or a band?
I think the biggest one for me is, are they assholes? And do they listen? Because I don't want to just keep saying the same thing over and over. Because here's what happens with most artists. You tell them you're going to get hit by the train. It's coming down the track. Get the fuck out of the way. They get hit and they blame you. How come you didn't tell me? The train was coming. They never blame themselves if the record doesn't. You tell them, don't put that single out. It's the wrong single. Yeah. I'm putting that single out. Okay, when it fails, they fire you because it wasn't successful. That
is a fear. What a fear that you start with an artist or a band that's really small and you put in the time and not making any money and then they fire you. I mean,
you got no recourse.
When you sign with an artist manager, is there anything in there of like, now we're locked in? Or?
Yeah, you have some what they're called sunset clauses when you get paid for everything you've done, and then you get a ongoing commission for a couple years.
Got it. Okay, that's nice.
But it's not great.
No. Man, that's where trust and relationship is everything, I'm sure.
Yeah, the only way I would sign an artist today is if we did an LLC and I owned a piece of the LLC. I wouldn't do it I would not work on commission.
Why?
Because they can fire you.
Yeah.
And they fire you don't have any ownership.
So you would...
And I believe my skill set, they create it, but I sell it, and you need both.
Yes. And you like that creative side too.
Yeah.
Huh.
I try to stay in my lane. I have some thoughts at times.
Of course. Yeah.
I use Des for graphic and
I love that. Yeah. She got that. She's so talented there. But you have great ideas. And even if they're not, I'll be like, no.
You know what? And I am not emotionally attached to whether you say yes or no.
Well, and I have horrible ideas too. And you really nicely go, no. Like, you're right. That was really stupid.
You're usually right. You just don't always want to trust you're right when you go. You need to hear someone else tell you
Interesting. Ooh, that's another thing to help me fly the coop is trusting.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay, thank you. This is therapy.
Yeah, I'll pay you. I'll send you the bill later.
So, okay, let's go back. What brought you initially into music?
My dad was flying overseas at that time. And I was like the first kid in the neighborhood that had like, this is really dating me, fuck, a component stereo, like separate turntable, separate receiver. And we had a family friend. My dad was stationed in the military. And we had a family friend who was older and had license. And for some reason, they would let me drive with him into San Francisco to see concerts.
Whoa. How old were you?
I was 16, maybe. We'd go down there, smoke pot all day, and go to shows when you could see Queen for $5. And so I saw a lot of shows. And I was student body and president in high school.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so one of your thing, you chaired the entertainment committee. So you'd go out and hear bands, right, in the garage. And then I kind of realized, the girls hang around all the musicians. And I just liked music. I thought I was going to be a sound engineer. And I when I was going to college, I went to recording school at night, and I owned a recording studio for a while. And I realized I didn't want to be in the dark all the time, indoors.
Yes.
It wasn't fulfilling enough.
Yeah, you wanted the spotlight.
That's right, baby.
You wanted to be backstage with the with the groupies.
I wanted to cash the check.
Yeah. So, and you were raised Army brat, right?
Military, yeah.
Military. So you were all over.
Yeah.
Not Army, was it?
Air Force.
Air Force, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're used to up and leaving.
Well, yeah, it taught you a skill. You have to get along, because your dad would go, hey, we're leaving in 6 weeks. And, I moved 8 times before high school.
Whoa.
And you get to stay for a year and he'd go, we're moving. I'm waiting, all my friends.
Wow.
Pack your shit. In those days, we didn't have social media, so you didn't really have a way to stay connected with those people unless you wrote letters.
Did you ever have a city where you're like, I don't even want to make friends because we're just going to leave again?
I never thought of it that way. I just felt like you got to make friends to survive.
To survive. Yeah, true. But that's so interesting that at a really young age, you're used to up and leaving. And that's kind of touring. I mean, and being okay.
And you were around other kids who were like, we were all in this together.
Oh.
We all had to figure it out. And it's funny, in my growing up, our schools were never really divided by race. They were more divided by rank, whether your dad was an officer or enlisted. So we just all got along. You had to get along.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Wow. So then you love concerts. Man, I would have died to see Queen. That's insane. What was your favorite show that you saw in that time period? Time period. God. One that you were like, oh my God, I want to do this. That was so cool.
Probably Leonard Skinner. The first time I saw them was in their heyday. They were unbelievable. Wow. Great
What type of venue were they playing?
There was this great venue in San Francisco called Winterland. It's like 6,000 seats. It was just perfect. And those days, the floor was open. There were no chairs. I hate chairs on the floor. If I want to go to the show, I want to stand up.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And be sausaged in with everybody. See, I don't like that.
What?
I want to be at front of house.
Yeah.
I'm also
I want to
claustrophobic.
be, literally, we would go early enough we'd sit outside because I want to be up against the barricade.
Okay. Yeah.
I had Gene Simmons spit blood on me and kiss because it was right there in the front of the barricade.
All right. Yeah. You're meant to be in this industry.
Yeah. I still, like, when I go to a show, like, I'm nervous. Like, when the lights go down, it's like that moment of, how's it going to open?
I think that, in doing the podcast and just talking to people, that still is like the thing for everybody is there's nothing like that drug of how excited everyone gets. And same, like when I go to a show, now that I'm not really working them, oh my God, they're so fun again. And you're a part of it. And like, I feel like fans,
if you're on the road, every night is your payoff.
Right.
You don't, if you got everything set up, everything works, and the crowd goes crazy, and the band crushes it, you had your payoff, and it go, okay, I can get on that bus and do this again tomorrow.
So true.
Right?
Especially if you get to experience it, if you're like, a part of the show, of audio, lighting, video, if you're actually a part of the choreography of it, it's so intoxicating. And that's why people kind of just stay
you have to have that personality. Because there are people who get in, they go, I can't take this. I can't live on a bus. I can't. I need to be home.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, actually, because I feel like that was me after COVID. Going back out I just realized I didn't really want that.
Yeah.
But I feel like entrepreneurship.
So now you have a new torture.
I know. I get to sleep in my own bed, but I don't have a life. And it's constant work, and but I do think that entrepreneurship and pretty much any freelancer job kind of go hand in hand. You are your own.
That's right.
You are your own boss, and you manage your life and your work ethic and your.
We always say you eat what you kill.
True.
Right? If you don't kill anything, you don't eat.
You don't eat.
That's right.
Yeah. Scrappy.
Yeah.
Scrappy. So you've worked with a lot of very diverse artists. So you started in the grunge and the rock, and then went into some more rock, pop, definite pop. Where did you like to be the most?
I liked all of it.
Yeah.
I mean, my playlist in the gym is all over the place.
Okay, so if you were to go out right now and tour manage a band, what would that be? Like, what would take you back out on the road?
Miley Cyrus.
For real?
Yeah, I love her. I think her craziness. Pink would be actually be my first choice.
Yeah. I didn't expect you to say Miley Cyrus. I think she's amazing.
She is amazing.
Yeah.
And enough crazy that makes it interesting.
Right.
But I don't think she's destructive crazy.
Interesting. Okay, let's talk about that. Like, how do you find the right balance of crazy?
It's hard. I mean, it depends. I had an artist who was just a spoiled little bitch. And didn't appreciate her talent and, was more concerned about getting her hair done and going to lunch than working hard. We'll leave the name off the list.
Yep. Heard.
And didn't appreciate her fans. Like, I understand that being famous sucks at times, but it gives you a lot of great things in your life.
Yeah.
And so it's like I think nothing frustrates more. I go see an artist and they won't play their hits.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. That's why I used to tell artists, nobody gives a fuck about your day. They paid money to get away from their day. You go up there, even you have to fake it. You give them everything.
Yeah.
And set that standard.
Because they're not only themselves, they're the brand. Like they are, do artists have to like separate themselves from
I think
their
the
art?
smart ones do a little bit. That way they can keep a part of their soul that's theirs.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Do you think that managers ever take that on too? Like, do you think that the management, having seen that, do you think you have to separate your own?
Yeah, I mean,
feelings?
you have to. It's great that they're your friends, but no, they'll fucking cut your throat in a minute. They'll fire you in a second.
What?
I fired an artist makeup person when the artist was in the chair because she was going, I think you should do this. My brother, I go, you're fucking fired. Get your shit and get out.
Woo-hoo! Scary.
Yeah.
Scary. What did the artist think of that?
They were like, what do you mean? I go, I'm not putting up with that. No gossip on this tour. It's a no gossip tour. That's what kills a tour. Is people gossiping and talking about one another. And we're in this together. Everybody's going to work together. You have issues, you talk them out.
Yeah. So how did you do that, before gigs was a thing, when it was all word of mouth and you really needed to fire somebody? Did you just take a chance and say, pack your bags, you're not coming to the next city, goodbye, and then figure it out?
Yeah.
Dang. Have other people kind of pick up their slack until you find someone good?
And usually the rest of the crew is thank fucking God you got rid of them.
Right.
Yeah. Because it's the only job that I know of where you work and live together.
Yep.
Everybody else, every other job you go home.
Yeah.
Here you busted your ass all day, hope you can get a shower at 11 o'clock at night and get on the bus, try to get 5 to 7 hours on a bus that's moving down the road with a bunch of other people snoring.
Yeah.
And get up the next day and bring a great attitude and go to work.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize how hard it is.
Such a hard job.
It is a hard job. It's not right for everybody.
No. How do you know if it's right for you? If you're doing it and you're unhappy, could it be the camp that you're with, or do you think, or could it be?
I think you have to figure that out for yourself.
Yeah.
Or am I unhappy because I don't like the artist, I don't like the environment, or I just don't like the business of this?
Yeah, totally. So what made you then get off the road? Was it just to full-time artist manage?
Yeah, and also I got an opportunity, and I go, I'm going to take this.
Yeah.
So,
But you were still on the road, traveling with Alanis too.
yeah.
Interesting. Do you have any tips for traveling when you're traveling that much? I don't know, packing tips or anything?
Pack all black and gray.
There we go.
It used to be a lot worse because in Europe and in Asia, everybody smoked. So everything you had, like it smelled like smoke all the time.
Yeah, in every sound. And you used to be able to like smoke cigarettes on the bus, right?
Oh,
On the
yeah.
tour bus and stuff. Yeah. Probably do a lot. Yep.
Smoked a lot of things
Like
on the bus.
Out of working with all of the tech companies, they're all different.
Right.
What is your, so I was talking with someone earlier about this, like someone was saying, oh yeah, I can't, I just want to I want to do a new startup because I miss the scrappiness and like that, it's a big payoff because are working for a very successful company now. That is crazy to me to go back to the start and try to, get there. Where's your favorite time to come in?
I like day one.
You're
I like
crazy.
building it from, it's really fun to see where gigs is now and where it was a year ago.
Right.
And where it's going to be at the end of 25. We're going to rule the fucking world by then.
Fucking better, man. You like to go day one because also your vision, you can also then incorporate your vision into it, right?
Yeah, and also too, I can set the foundation.
Yeah.
Get the right legal in, get the right team around, like
right.
like the team we've got around you at gigs.
Absolutely.
The advisory board is world class.
Top notch. Yeah. We're super lucky. And thank you.
You're welcome.
I want you to talk about the LERNER Theatre, this newer project that you've been working on.
Yeah, it's just a weird deal that happened. I got invited to speak at Notre Dame for this thing called Idea Week because there's a guy here in town who has a tech company who I've just friendly with, and I let him. We go to lunch every 6 weeks, and I let him talk about his business. I don't work with him. I don't have room for anything else. But he goes, "Would you come speak?" And I go, "Yeah, I'll go up there." And so after and it was about music tech and sports tech. And after I got done, the city manager, that's this other city, came up to me and said, "Hey, would you come talk to us because we want to build this downtown amphitheater." And we had a partner, but they screwed us over. No money was ever exchanged, but we don't know what we're doing. So I started talking to them, and then they go, "Oh, by the way, we have a theater here in town. It's beautiful. It's 1,700 seats. It's 100 years old. The general manager quit. It's a mess. And would you come do it?" So I try to build a team. So Blake, I said, "Blake, why don't you help me?" And we go, "Let's go do the theater first and get them to trust us. And then we'll do the amphitheater." So that's what we're doing. It's a gorgeous place. The theater's gorgeous.
Historic. So you're going in, a thing or two about venues.
Yeah, I brought in a woman who, she was a GM, interims, and we cleaned up the staff.
Yeah.
They had never been trained. It's Elkhart, Indiana, for God's sake. A great town, but no one had ever had, the only experience they'd had working in a high school or a college theater, not on a professional setting.
And you're having real acts, get booked through this theater.
Yeah.
So what does it mean to clean house?
You have to find out the people who, the problem is with these challenges, the city owns the theater. So a lot of people, they're all city workers, right? So a lot of them are like, I work 9 to 5. I go, no. In a theater, if it's a 16-hour day, you work 16 hours. Doesn't matter. And so it was clearing out those people, and the management before pitted people against one another, and nobody had clear job scopes. And so we took us 90 days because in a city environment, it's hard to fire people.
Yep.
And so it took us that long to kind of sort it out and get things in place. And they didn't have They didn't have actor shootive training. They didn't have any of those kind of things.
Yeah, right. So you get that. Yeah, well, my gosh. Active who conducts that stuff? That's like the venue lead?
No, our GM, I know several security companies. We brought them in to teach it.
Great.
Yeah.
Have you ever managed a venue?
No.
That's pretty amazing.
I've always worked on the other side.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you just kind of know the players that need to be in place to make this thing successful and how to get the right people in
Blake
there.
was an agent at CA, so he does the agent side. Sherry was the GM of a theater, and I just try to keep it on the rails.
And it's back on the rails.
Yeah,
we're back at, yeah. And so with the success of that, seeing how that's going, then kind of getting into building an amphitheater.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I'll put good people around us to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't even drive a tractor.
That's another notch in your belt. That's ridiculous. What is next for you?
I don't know. We'll see what comes in the door tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, you take every meeting, and it's pretty amazing. So anybody who's listening to this, his email is Scott at Welch.
MGT.com.
Yep. Anyway, and,
I don't care.
Yeah, reach out. He's.
So many people helped me. I'm getting that age where I should give back as much as I can.
Yeah, yeah. What advice would you have for? Let's do two separate answers. One for the, let's just say broader music industry professional. What advice would you have for a person that is getting in, maybe 2-3 years in?
In what capacity?
Let's say stick to touring.
Yeah. One, you better know that you love it. First thing, because there's going to be a lot of shitty days. And if you don't, if at 8:00 when the band goes on the stage, if that doesn't wipe out the shit that happened during the day, you shouldn't do this. Because that's the payoff. Right? And you know what? Don't sit at home. Get on gigs and start to hustle yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And what would you advise an artist manager?
I think it's very difficult to be an artist manager today because the money is only in touring. There's, and the record deals are not like they used to be. And
right.
It's
really independent. It's based on like TikTok views and things. Yeah.
It's really difficult.
And then, so basically don't do it.
What?
Is your advice?
Yeah.
Don't do it. Heard. And then what would you advise entrepreneurs that are day one, that are just starting, or they have a concept, they have an MVP?
Pretend you're in a boxing match and you get your fucking ass kicked and you're laying on the ropes, or you're going to get up tomorrow. If you're not going to do that, don't do this. Go get a regular job. Go take your passion someplace else.
Can you give some examples of what are things that are knocking people out and are just beating them down all the time as an entrepreneur?
I think the biggest thing for an entrepreneur is the burn rate.
Yeah.
The money, what it costs.
Yeah.
An entrepreneur, I think one of your strengths is you've learned to pivot really quickly. When something hasn't worked out, we've made changes.
Yeah.
Personnel, ideas, directions.
Yeah. And you always ask the question of, well, what do you feel? Yeah. And then I have to like really sit in it. And it's always that immediately, whatever that first gut, whatever feeling that feels a little funky is always right. It's always right. And it's so cool that like right now, our team that we have, like with them, everything feels so good.
Yeah. And there'll be problems tomorrow.
Oh,
Wake
yeah.
up tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm like, I'm filled with fear. I'm filled with like dread.
But you have to enjoy the wins.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've had some great wins this year.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
I think, we have an insane team where it's actually crazy to see that like last year at this time, it was me and I had just met you. That was last year.
Yeah.
No, that was 2 years ago. What am I saying? What was last year? We had a CTO.
We hadn't launched yet.
Oh God, yeah, right.
We just launched now.
Yeah.
And we had just
launched our beta. We
That's
had a CTO, and then now to have more employees that like, good God, we would die without them. So like I'm and the advisory board.
It's really been fun. It's fun to see our employees start with us and raise their game.
It's the whole point. That's the coolest thing. That is the coolest thing, to have Annabelle start, and we just give more and more and more, and now she needs to hire someone under her because there's so much.
Yeah.
to just get someone who's
I mean,
kicking ass in
the
sales.
secret to a good entrepreneur is you learn how to build a quality team that has leadership ability, and you be comfortable delegating those things away.
And recognizing when I totally am wrong. And like last year I felt so uncomfortable and still working through it, but uncomfortable in sales calls, and I was never properly sales trained, and made a lot of mistakes there. And then bringing in Don Herndon to help coach me, and then bring in Logan Reneker to help run the sales.
I think part of the reason why I did well in management is I knew what things cost. I knew, I'm not paying because you had to cover the ice in the arena. I'm not paying for that, right? Those things you learn along the way. And so by the time I got to management, I had a great mentor on top of that who you got to have people that you can go ask help and they won't judge you for it. They'll just go, let me help you.
Yes. And also giving off something. So Kevin Old, our CTO, who I know nothing about coding, and knowing
trust
that
it.
Full trust.
Because it's the foundation of your business and you're giving it to somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Scary.
I think building a team, and I know I'm sorry, I'm just going on a tangent. It's the coolest thing this year, and our goal setting and hearing everyone's like fire behind this. And I think that is the number one thing for an entrepreneur team, for a startup team, is everyone has to be an entrepreneur.
Just like nobody is cut out not everybody's cut out to tour. Not everybody's cut out to work for a startup. Because on a tour, like if you just pick up the pieces, right? Everybody takes out the trash. There's nobody too good. And in a startup team, it's the same way.
So true.
Whatever needs to be done, you just get it done.
That is the truth. And that's how you learn the whole business. If you kind of are doing all the things. Annabelle and I were talking about that.
Yeah.
So that's advice to get into that. You are just kind of running your Scott Welch Enterprises, or what is it? Management, whatever.
Yeah,
You're managing all the things.
I don't care.
It's cool that you are running a life where you get to you're working your ass off, and you get to be a part of so many different experiences and so many different stages.
And so many different people.
Yeah. And how do you stay sane? And I know the answer to this.
Couple ways. I'm married to an amazing woman that helps me. And when I start to step out of line, she pops me and lets me know.
Yep.
Tennis is my one kind of release when I get out there, and I go to the gym a lot.
Mm-hmm. I'm amazed. How 67?
Shh.
Sorry.
68.
Oh! 68, and you're going to the gym at 5 a.m. every morning.
Almost.
I'm amazed by that. And I think the way that you care for yourself, how disciplined you are with yourself.
It's also the place with my headphones on where I sort out a lot of shit. I listen to a lot of music that I don't have time to listen to music.
Yeah.
And I realize when I hear something, I go, that brings me joy.
No.
To hear something I haven't heard in a while,
Yeah. And what actually, who have you been hearing a lot of recently?
Oh my God, it's all over the place. In the gym, I try to listen to stuff that's really upbeat. I'll listen to Van Halen, then I'll listen to Dua Lipa. Mm-hmm. I'll listen. It's all over the place.
But who keeps popping up when you shuffle? Your friend, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to talk about
Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just had one of my really good friends was Taylor Hawkins, who's a drummer in Foo Fighters. He got his first gig with Alanis. And him and I, because he's a musician, we spent hours in the back of the bus at night driving, smoking weed and talking about music. And so when he came to me and said, hey, I got this chance, can I go audition for Foo Fighters? I go, yeah, go do it. Because he was more fit for that kind of drumming than for Alanis.
Wow. And then what a career that built.
Yeah.
My goodness. And so he's been popping up on your phone.
Yeah, I mean, the other day, so I have one of those tall candles, and I have a picture of him and I after he passed away up on my spot in our house, and I was dusting it, and then I was looking through photographs, and I found the first picture of Alanis and the band the first day, and I go, wow. And then I went to the gym, and I put my headphones on, and I just hit shuffle, and Foo Fighters came up, and I went, all right, thanks, Taylor.
Oh,
I'm glad you're okay.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
What an
You got to
impact.
listen to messages from the universe.
Hell
They're
yeah.
out there.
Always.
Yeah.
For me and for the gigs team, I'm so grateful. I know you like personally. I mean, you
Right.
guys are my Nashville family too.
Right.
And it's amazing to see what you've done in your life and what you're doing now and how you help people. And it's always truly because you care.
Yeah,
and I do.
I get as much. I mean, Des and I get as much out of it as you get out of it.
Yeah. No. Gonna be good next few years. So
It's going to be fabulous.
yes. And also to everyone else that you are in their lives. To Soundstripe, to Eva, to Single, to all of them, like, you know, we're all better off because we know you. So thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And thank you for being on the podcast.
You're welcome. Even though it took me a while to get here.
Now you finally are.
Now I'm finally here.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.